Hello, welcome back to Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn and writer for Screen Rant, host of the Mega Manga Mondays podcast, and a whole bunch of other stuff you can hear about later. But today I am incredibly excited to be talking about One Piece chapter 1080. I got some buddies with me to talk about this huge chapter. We had a bit of a delay. We had a week off, and then this chapter dropped, and we had so much to talk about. We'll be getting into it, but I'll let my buddies kind of introduce themselves a little bit. Ben, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I'm Ben. I'm also a writer for Screen It for the anime and manga section mainly lately, but I also write for the comic section occasionally as well. And I also have a YouTube channel. I talk about old formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. So if you're interested in that, check it out. But One Piece is my favorite manga series of all time, so I'm really hyped to discuss this chapter because it was a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. We were kind of gabbing a little bit before we started recording, and just some early little chat about it got me very, very excited for this conversation. And we also have Francesco with us today, and excited to hear his thoughts as well. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. Pretty good, coming off a rough Easter weekend and lots of eating and drinking. That's why it was rough. But yeah, I'm Francesco. I'm a senior writer for the anime section of Screen Rant, which I suggest everybody go and check it out. We have a lot of incredible content, news on what's going on in the world of anime and manga, and we cover the most famous series too, including One Piece, which I'm also very excited to talk about today.
Absolutely. I agree with all of those things, except for formats here. Okay, there we go. Got it. I fixed it. But yeah, we've been putting a lot of work into Screen Rant anime manga section. We talk about all kinds of different series. Unlike today on the podcast, we're just going to be talking about One Piece, and then we thought about kind of pumping up our recommendation section because there's so many new manga that just showed up on Shonen Jump, and we kind of want to talk about some of them. So today we're just going to be focusing on those two things, but we'll go ahead and dive right into some One Piece. This chapter, 1080, that's a lot of chapters, guys, but it's I've been talking to a bunch of friends who have never gotten into the series, and they're just like, oh boy, does it ever climb and get to a bit where you're like fulfilled? And I'm like, dude, almost every chapter, and this arc especially, I just, especially content creators who just make me enjoy and look at stuff in hindsight so much. It's a joy every week. And this chapter really, really provided it. This chapter was called The Hero of Legend. And we didn't get another chapter or another cover story of the Germa emotionless excursion. I almost don't know if that has anything left. I mean, we had Neo Mads get signed up and figured out, and I have no idea where that part of the story is going after this, if anywhere. But we got another adorable request cover of Kamatsu and Hiyori making some origami, which was, it was cute. It was fun. I don't have a whole lot to say on it. It doesn't really add a lot to the overall story, but the chapter immediately starts off on Pirate Island, full of lead, which is what the Viz translation is wanting to call it. And we got one of our first looks at the Cross Guild marine bounty posters. And our boy Kobe, 5 stars. He apparently has about the same bounty that Usopp had for a very long time. I think people out there with a lot more time and energy for it than I have figured out that I think each star is like a chest of berries, which is like 100,000 berries, I guess. So
100 million berries.
100 million, yeah.
100 million. Okay, yeah, a lot more.
It's a bit more impressive. It's not Chopper levels. It's
yeah, not quite to Chopper levels yet. We can all hope to get there.
No, I mean it's not like as low as Chopper.
Yeah,
because Chopper has like a pitifully low bounty.
Yeah. Poor guy. Hopefully he'll
for
get
now.
For
Yeah.
now.
I'm waiting,
I honestly thought after Wano he was going to get it because so many people saw him like fighting Queen for a very long time, and he cured the disease and saved so many lives. I was blown away.
Yeah,
didn't raise that
which
up.
is again something that should make his bounty go lower because he's saving lives.
Yeah.
It's a criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're rather going to start putting hiring posters out for him.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh boy, we can give that guy a job.
We want this guy alive, you know, to work at our hospitals. But
absolutely, yeah, that'd be great. But another great thing I loved about this chapter too was the giant full lead island has always had the big pirate skull thing over it. And I think this is definitely one of those just like Oda thought it was cool. So he's like, I need to come up with a way to do this, but I want the giant skull island to talk. And, so yeah. So it was kind of interesting because it was definitely giving me like a lot of people online were talking about like Pika vibes. We're wondering if they like stole Pika's devil fruit and gave it to this guy.
I think it's a different.
Yeah,
I don't think Pika had the island fruit.
Yeah, no, Pika was
Right.
like a stone fruit, something like that. Yeah, people are saying they are curious to see what's the difference is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would be very surprised if they're out of commission because they're just, you know, if they control this entire island, it's that's insane. I mean, and that's really just a testament to like all of these devil fruits that the Blackbeard pirates have gone and hunted down. It's really just building up the ultimate conflict of like the ultimate powers versus the ultimate like people who have trained and experience and friendship and relying on each other, that sort of thing. You know, just having the most powerful devil fruit doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best in the world, but it's a lot of fun getting to see all these powers on display, and especially this chapter. I was kind of telling Ben when we were first starting out or talking about this that I started reading this chapter and I'm just like, oh man, I really want to know what's going on with Egghead. I want to know what's going on with all the other things that we've been, you know, focusing on. And then when it jumped over to here, I'm like, okay, I guess we have something going on Blackbeard's island and stuff like that. And then we get the flashback and the sword explanation, which again was another thing I didn't know I needed to know about, because I always just thought, yeah, sword is just this, you know, undercover sort of thing. And this is like fully laying it out. We know that they're pretty much willing to be cut loose. It's essentially they're all James Bond, or they're like, you don't technically work for us, and if you get caught, we're gonna cut you loose and say we don't know you or anything like that. But you can go do whatever you want to do. Go ahead, Francesco.
I think it's interesting because Sword's main thing is that they don't have to wait for orders from the big wigs to act, which is something that a certain, I don't want to call it faction because it's not a faction, but certain people in the Navy always complain about. People like Garp, of course, people like I think Isho. So let's say all the good guys in the Navy always had these. Well, they are soldiers, so it's not like they are against authority. Otherwise, they would be pirates. But they are advocating for, you know, a more let's just do what we know it's right to do, which is basically what Swords does. And it's interesting because, again, if as many people believe Aokiji is actually an undercover member of Sword.
I was going to go into that.
He was like the main guy who was advocating for this style of reformation, which led to his duel with Akane.
Yeah. And also, you know, we see Aokiji in this chapter trying to convince Blackbeard not to make this deal, like in addition to explaining it, which would also fit with him being a member of Sword, because he's like, oh damn, wait, Kobe's a member of Sword. We're on the same side basically. We should. I'll prevent this deal from going through.
Yeah, it was almost as soon as we saw Akiji or Kuzan, however you want to refer to him, siding with the Blackbeard pirates. It definitely seemed like one of those things, just like he's got some sort of motive here. There's no way everything that we've known about him so far and been introduced, he's not the type of guy to side with the Blackbeard pirates. So there's definitely that, like, why are you doing this, man? And this chapter just fully supports that theory. I feel nothing is going against, him making that turn. If anything, I think it really, really solidified that he is like one of the main heads of Sword, and is actually a brilliant move. Like, infiltrate the Blackbeard pirates, being one of the strongest admirals or one of the strongest people in the entire One Piece world. It's a pretty brilliant plan. But speaking of brilliant, after we got a little bit more of a information dump about Sword and Blackbeard's desire. Apparently,
this is my highlight of the chapter. Like that page.
I'll let you get into it then.
It's pretty deep. I mean, of course, everybody will want to talk about Garp's superpowers. That we now know he's at the top of the world with people like Roger and Shanks, which is cool. But I think on a
it's cool.
On a deeper level, Blackbeard's plan to have Pirate Island recognized as a kingdom, not a country, like a kingdom, from the government, from the world government, is pretty cool, because that will make him a pirate king, guys. He will be the king of a pirate country. And it's basically the opposite of what Luffy and of how Luffy sees the title of Pirate King, right? Yeah. Because we've been discussing for years that Luffy and Blackbeard are sort of these two polar opposites, right? They have many similarities, like their journeys have been sort of going on in parallel, but they are also different for many reasons. And Luffy said that he wants to become the Pirate King because the Pirate King is the most free person in the world. What's the opposite of freedom, guys? Like being a king, which burdens you with responsibility, even when you are a good guy, right? And taking freedom away from others, because that's what Blackbeard does. Like in this chapter, we also learn that he keeps slaves. He has slaves that he then sells, right? So that's the type of king, the type of pirate king he wants to be. So basically, Blackbeard is saying, I will be the pirate king, but not as you guys are doing by fighting each other and going after this treasure, that whatever there is. I will become a pirate king in my own way, which I think it's very, very cool. And once again, it's one of those, deeper levels of the story that I think are so rewarding. Of course, we were all excited seeing the galaxy
impact,
whatever it's called.
Of course. We'll have plenty to say about that.
Yeah. But this part of the story, actually, of the chapter, is what struck a chord with me.
Oh yeah, and it's like, honestly, it's one of the reasons why I love Blackbeard so much, because whenever he shows up, I feel like we get like a big piece of information about him. And he doesn't show up that often in the series. I mean, he's been showing up more lately. But like, if you look at the series as a whole, given how large his presence looms, he's been in the series like a negligible amount.
I'd say a lot of his biggest things have happened off screen too. So
and it's just so cool. Like, I mean, I think it just shows how good a storyteller the Oda is, that like, even though this guy has shown up so little, like every time he shows up, we're so excited to see him. And like, even these sort of like, just, these big reveals are just hit so much harder because, he's been built up so well. And it's I don't know, it's just so cool. And it's different from pretty much any other major shonen antagonist, I think. Or at least that's my opinion. I can't think of anyone else like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just like a testament to, as you said, like Oda's like creativity and world building and just this writing. I mean, so many other like huge, bigger than life characters would be introduced, and then within a few pages or within an arc, you'd see them do something insane. While One Piece has just been building and building and building and building. It's been building its world, it's been building its characters, and your expectations for these characters. And with Garp, you've just always heard about him being a legend. He sided with Roger to take down the world's strongest, history's strongest pirate crew. You've just heard all these things, but we've never seen him do it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Shanks, too. I feel like Shanks was just, for 20 years, was talked up, but we've never seen him do anything. And all in the past half dozen chapters, we've had all of this just explode in our faces. And it's one of those things where you were almost like, are they really that strong, or is it just the people talking about the legend and it growing to ridiculous heights, that kind of Usopp's whole thing, where Usopp is a capable fighter, sure, but he's not God Usopp.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his whole thing. So I was almost wondering, same thing with like Shanks and Garp, that if push come to shove, if they're no longer that powerhouse. And Oda waited all the way until like this final saga of One Piece to really deliver that, to show you, no, these guys are the real deal, and they're gonna need everyone's gonna need to really step it up to be able to topple the current greatest, the goats.
Yeah, we had it 2 chapters in a row now. We had Shanks show off, and then Garp show, which for Garp, we don't know if who is he going to fight? He's not going to fight against Luffy, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually worried for him here. I think it's marrying a lot of the parallels that Whitebeard did in order to save Ace. He's charging right into the enemy territory, and he just has full confidence in his own abilities. While we have Teach's or Blackbeard's terrifying crew, like it's almost one of those things where it's almost set up for Garp to die here, and I'm not ready for it yet.
I don't think that's going to happen, because otherwise Blackbeard would have been there. At least half of his captains are away, and the few that are left, I don't think they are on the level at that level. Come on.
It could show how strong Blackbeard is. Blackbeard's whole thing is really being strong, but
and they should have to come back when we saw him. We saw a Blackbeard ship approaching again, which I think is where Blackbeard is going. So I think Garp is just gonna pull off this rescue based on the fact that he went to Pirate Island when sort of half of the top fighters in the crew were away. And they went it in a much more clever way than Whitebeard did. Honestly, they actually had a plan. And also Garp is not sick like Blackbeard was, because what Whitebeard was, because if he did that in Marineford, I think it would have been which again is makes you go back and look at that infamous scene when Garp wants to kill Akainu and Sengoku stops him, which is so important for fans, that if you actually look around the internet, you will see people who have drawn or animated what would have happened if Sengoku had not stopped him. And now we know it would have totally kicked his ass.
Oh yeah,
Conqueror Saeki with the whole whatever it's called thing when you
armament hockey
the imbuing thing when you have the black lightning, basically, which is the advanced use of Conqueror Saeki, which I think we've only seen Roger, Shanks, Kaido, Luffy, and Big Mom doing it.
Okay.
So Garp is literally the 6th person. Well, and Zoro too.
Yeah.
So he's the 7th person, and I guess Oden could do it too.
Did Oden do it in the flashback?
While you guys
sure.
talk, I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, no.
Look it up. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember, because that flashback, the Odin flashback, had so many like powerful people.
Maybe he used it in his brief fight with Kaido.
Yeah.
It's also just so wild that it's you know, that it's kind of like the hockey didn't really get explored until time skip, and it's just more and more baffling that we didn't hear or know anything about it before the time skip, because it just seems like such a like important role in One Piece's power scales now.
I mean, and I think that's a sign of like natural power scale.
Yeah, we didn't see Oden doing it, but we did see. I forgot about Yamato, which is a crazy.
Oh, Yamato did?
Yes, absolutely. Which is crazy if you think about it, how strong he was, and also Riley did it.
Yeah, Riley makes sense.
Oh yeah, Dark King Riley.
Yeah. Rip Yamato. Still sad that they didn't join the crew.
I still think that they're holding out something. Something there.
There's definitely going to be like Oda's not going to be like, well, now I'm done with the characters from Wano forever. They'll never return. This is how I normally do things. So I do believe Yamato will come back, but I just wanted them in the crew. But I do think that like it's honestly One Piece's power scaling is one of the things I love most about the series, because it knows how to actually pace itself well.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I'm very happy that hockey only got introduced at the halfway point, because it's not like it, wasn't ever hinted at. First chapter we had hockey, but it enabled the sort of villains in the first half to sort of power scale naturally until you reached a point where like, we can't deal with these without hockey,
Yeah.
And maybe it's because Oda had not sketched the whole thing yet, but it works perfectly that random people in East Blue have no idea what hockey is, because it's such an advanced power that to know it, you have to be on the Grand Line. And if you're in East Blue, you're not in the Grand Line.
Yeah.
So that works. Like that makes total sense. Like it's like a first level character in Dungeons and Dragons, to make a popular reference these days, not knowing about whatever the time stop spell or I don't know, some advanced spell, right? That makes sense. And One Piece again if you think of how hard it is to do that right in a series and how consistent it has been,
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, look at any other long-running Shonen Jump series, or just Shonen series in general. And I mean, most of them, like, I think it's always funny when people are like, okay, well, of the big three, right? Naruto and Ichigo could both like easily defeat Luffy, right? Because like they're just, Ichigo can like destroy dimensions, and like Naruto can like destroy.
They have supernatural powers, yes.
Yeah.
But the power system and the power scaling, like you mentioned, 2 series where it got completely off the rails.
Yeah.
Like in Bleach, it was cool at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I
and
think
then it wasn't.
Yeah, it's one of the things that made the series popular. Like, let's face it, the whole Shikai and Bankai thing. And then it didn't make any sense at all. And in Naruto, it used to be a strong point of the series, how the different jutsu work, the seals, the chakra, and the battles were so tactical. Actually, I'm rereading the series now.
Oh,
if
good.
If you read the manga, these fights that you as a fan remember as epic fights lasting for dozens of chapters usually, and in 2 chapters, maybe 3, they're super fast, and maybe the anime makes us remember them as fancier and longer, right? But in the manga, they're actually very short. Now I'm up to the start of Shippuden. I just started reading the Sakura and Chiyu versus Sasori, which, by the way, was voted last week by the fans as the best battle in the series.
I agree.
Wow.
I mean, that was my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a height for her, and that's why so many people had an issue with Sakura afterwards. Yeah. They didn't really give her anything to
do. And then flash forward to Danzo going back in time or whatever he does, and saying like that whatever that crazy Sharingan thing was. Applying the illusion to reality and not to yourself. Anyway. And so on and so
the Sharingan powers definitely like was the, and I feel like Boruto is just taken like, well, you like Sharingan powers, we're gonna do a whole power system based on
something even worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like you can't even include Bordo in the same.
We'll wash that out.
Yeah,
but then you look at One Piece and it's so consistent and so simple, right? You get, okay, that devil fruit, I have a strong devil fruit power, I'm good, right? And then you got Haki, and it's very simple. Like, and it's, it didn't have to be crazy. It's just solid, consistent, and well-developed, which is, I think, the key.
And it's kind of what we were saying earlier, too, about Oda building things, like him building up the powers to be more and more complex over time instead of just dropping it all on you and then them randomly kind of pulling for that to make something make sense. And that's something that I've really enjoyed about the series as well. But speaking of like pre-time skip versus now, to kind of bring it back to the chapter, one of my favorite bits about it was the one panel of Perona being locked in the jail cell, and her revealing to Kobe that Moira is still alive and apparently alive and kicking and still in like one of the jail cells. And she asked Kobe to rescue Moira. I thought Moira would be long dead by now. I would think that Blackbeard already stole his devil fruit ability. And not give it to himself, but may have given it to one of a crewmate or something like that. But yeah, we don't know for sure yet if Blackbeard is able to steal abilities from living people and them to still be alive afterwards. So Oda is again he's not revealing everything right away. If he has stolen that ability and already used it to possibly revive, I think he could revive like Roger or Ace or somebody's body.
Man, that would be a Naruto. Low
low
level.
I really hope it doesn't go that way. I hope it doesn't
happen. We don't get Edo Tensei.
Well, I was thinking about that earlier, and I was actually glad that you brought up the whole like you're rereading Naruto, because I think the Edo Tensei thing of the final war of Naruto, not to go on a tangent on it, in the manga was a different experience than the anime. The anime, where they got to pad it out and fill 23 minutes every week, they throw in all the flashbacks and the storylines and how they all connect. In the anime, they just beat it India. With the manga, though, when they bring the people back to life, and it's a lot shorter and more succinct, I think, compared to the anime, just dragging it all out. Not saying it's still fantastic, but it's not as bad, I think, manga.
I think
versus
it's cool.
anime.
It's cool to see these legendary warriors of the past come back to life. But when there is already so many things at play, as it was at the end of Naruto, it ends up just making things messier.
Yeah. And it's I personally hated the Edo Tensei arc. That was like the big like I was enjoying Naruto at that point, and then the Edo Tensei hit, and I was not a fan at all.
I think it would have made sense if you didn't have the whole Zetsu army, right?
Yeah.
If Madara went, okay, my army is this much. Crap. It's this much. Sorry,
no worries.
Just spilled all my water. If my this Italian flailing of my arms. Anyway, like if my army is just resurrecting these super powerful people, okay, that's it. But then on top of that, you have endless foot soldiers basically, which makes the whole thing like a drag.
Yeah, and it just killed the momentum completely for me. And it's funny too, because I feel like one of the major complaints with Naruto, and I completely agree, is that it really did its side characters dirty. Like it didn't really, give the side characters moments to shine and good conclusions to their character arc. And you think with the Ito Tensei that would be a perfect chance to do that. And to be fair, like it's used for that a little bit, but overall it's just I feel like it was just very disappointing because there was some potential there. It just got completely botched in my opinion.
What would have been good to have a sequel manga completely focused on these characters and the flashbacks and the rich past history of the Naruto world instead of its horrible future.
I completely agree.
Future.
And it's something that I wish that the filler episodes did too. Like, there's so many like missions that we didn't get to see in the main story of Naruto that they could easily do a filler arc on. And there's just so much potential there. And I think One Piece also has a lot of potential for like, let's see what the adventures of like Law and Kid were when they first started pirating. Like seeing the timeline of One Piece from a different perspective. Like there's so much potential there because they just do such a good job of building up these worlds and stuff. But kind of back to the idea I was saying about like Roger being resurrected, or at least the body, kind of touches on the thing that I think worked about the Edo Tensei arc, is, which I agree they didn't dive deep into it as much as they could have, but the whole idea of the new generation easily, or not easily, but being able to surpass and overcome the past generation, and that being made physical with them bringing back, history's strongest people and stuff like that.
Which begs the question: what happens to the body of Roger? Like, did we ever see the grave? It's like a top.
Okay,
which might explain why Blackbeard was on that part of the world.
Well, wait, crazy theory. Im is Roger.
Oh boy, it's rocks. It's got to be rocks.
Nah, Im is Roger. I'm calling it now. No body, not dead. He's just he's faking. His disease went away.
That's a screen rant.
Yeah, the scary thing is that Ben has always been right.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be I hope this is the one time that you're wrong, because but my reaction right now actually tells me that would be a nice
it would make it interesting, because then the final arc would be like Luffy, the sort of present pirate king, or the one trying to be the present pirate king, going into the past pirate king who is somehow turned against what he originally believed in and the ideals that he put forward.
It's literally the symbol of the entire series. Like, they've been chasing that figure and like showing that he is actually the bad guy. Like, I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans, but I get the feeling when your favorite guy that's been built to win then loses the big one, or and that makes you so angry. And I think people would be so angry at that will actually be a good move, because you want to get the reaction. You don't want to make people happy. You want to make them something like that. You want to make them pissed, which would be crazy.
And actually, on a more serious note, like I said, the Ian is Roger thing is a bit of a joke, but like I do think that Oda could be setting up that sort of thing, potentially with Shanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been that very prevalent theory of Shanks being the villain or the bad guy. I see Shanks being an obstacle, but I don't know if I'd go so far as to say
the reason I say this, and I'm not necessarily saying it will turn out that way, Shanks is shown to like care for his crew a lot. And his crew is made up of like weaklings. But
this is not Black Clover, where the good guy all of a sudden was the bad guy.
I never read it, unfortunately, but but I mean,
it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it's just I just haven't dived into it, but sure. Like if you reread the first chapter, like you can definitely, I mean, Luffy idolizes Shanks, and like Shanks is sort of like Shanks and his crew sort of view Luffy as like this fun sort of kid and stuff. But like you could definitely view this as just like Shanks being like, oh, well, yeah, you're this kid, I'll, if you talk to me, I'll talk to you, but I don't really care about you. And that's especially the case once you see him interact with the kid on Elbaf, right? Where like he's just sort of joking with that kid. And it's like, is Luffy actually special to Shanks before he ate the devil fruit? Because once Luffy eats the devil fruit, then it's like, well, that's a major devil fruit. Like Shanks's crew had to go through a lot to get that devil fruit. So now Luffy's special. But before that, was Luffy special? Or are we just reading too much into this?
I really think so, because I think wasn't Shanks's crew like one of the few people that he told his real dream to?
Well, that's what Ben is saying. They are special to him, but he's special to them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I almost think that after hearing that, it mirrors what Roger wants to do or wanted to do much that I think that that's what was the tipping point for Shanks of being like, you're something, kid. I like this kid.
I don't know, because the kid on Elbaf is also like, let me join your crew and stuff. Right. And Shanks just shuts him down, right? Like, I don't know. I think if you reread that first chapter, you can sort of see the setup there potentially for Oda actually revealing that Shanks, Luffy was just this other kid to Shanks, and until he ate the devil fruit. But
even after that, if you think about it, their relationship was not that long. They hang out for a few months in his hometown, and that's it. Like, it's not like a father-son relationship. I think that's why a One Piece film Red is important, because it shows you that Shanks had that father-daughter relationship with someone else. He doesn't need to have that with Luffy. So when they will meet, I hope it's going to be as rival, and they're going to kick each other's ass, because that's what pirates do.
Yeah.
Because we tend to forget that this is a series about pirates who are not good people. Like, just remember that. I mean,
well, that's what's so wild about it too, is like, especially with the flashback of the Odin flashback of Whitebeard and Roger's crew fighting. Like, they apparently fought each other for 3 days and nobody died. Or it's like, okay, you guys are just like so evenly matched and so powerful that you're able to fight for 30 days and nobody died. I was just like, is this like a PG pirate show, or are they just like that powerful?
I mean, no one dies in One Piece. Their dreams are just crushed.
Yeah. So it's there's times like that where you're kind of wondering like how dark could this get?
Speaking of dark moments, like, if I want to bring back the conversation to the chat.
That's probably a good idea.
I was really thinking about the death of Ace, right? Because I was thinking about Garp. Like, I was going back and seeing what kind of character he is, because he lets his adoptive nephew or son, whatever, die in front of his eyes. Not just that, but he actively stops the people who are trying to rescue him. He stops Marco in the beginning. He stops Luffy, but then he has that moment of weakness or hesitation where he lets Luffy punch him into a wall or whatever. And basically, it's like he lets Luffy go. But again, he was instrumental in getting Ace killed, basically, because he was part of the people who were stopping Whitebeard and the rescuers. And so I feel like there we have a huge character, call it character arc, character development, whatever, that we didn't get to see. Maybe we will get to see that in the future, where we have Garp, where we give Garp spotlight for a few chapters, when he actually comes out and says, oh, I fucked up, right? I did something wrong, and I'm living with that weight now, and I have to do something about it, which to me, it would be great, because we did not see Garp change. after Marineford. Like he's his old self. He's laughing. He's but maybe that's why he's so pissed off about Kobe, because he's sort of projecting his failure in regards to Ace on. Okay, now I have a chance to sort of atone, right?
Yeah. Well, I definitely remember the anime during Marineford, like really focusing on Garp's like internal struggle during the whole
they have
time.
that. Yeah, they have that part that was awesome, because Garp sits down with Ace, and then Ace says, "I want to live" for the first time, and that's what sort of slaps Garp and makes him change his mind. But do you actually need that to change your mind about your adoptive son getting killed in front of your eyes?
Yeah.
And it's not like Ace ever did anything really bad. Like, yeah, he was a pirate, but he was actually being executed because he was Roger's son, not because
just because he was born.
Not because of whatever he did with Whitebeard. Like, I think that's a huge untapped pool of awesomeness there.
Yeah, I'm going to start crying if we keep on thinking about it. But I mean, that's just why Ace's like final words hit so hard. Like, just because it was just a crime for him to exist, and people who put that aside loved him anyway. Like, oh man. Okay. Anyway, it's so good. But yeah, that's actually, here's an exclusive Screen Rant preview. I'm actually going to be writing about that because I'm incredibly interested in the whole Garp dynamic, on why he is going full force here and why he didn't do as much as he could have.
That's a cool angle. I didn't know you were writing that. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. This chapter honestly had a lot of very exciting ideas thrown onto it, and that's something too. Like, we might get that with Garp if things turn sideways here. I'm almost wondering if we're going to get like a Jiraiya style sort of death, like where he's almost laminating on it. Just was I a failure, or what did I do to really change things? And oh boy, that's another. Oh man, I'm thinking of all these amazing death scenes that are making me emotional. But yeah, back to the chapter with Moira possibly being there. That's setting up a whole bunch of stuff. Very curious to see what happens there. But yeah, we haven't even gotten into all the Marines showing up.
Yeah,
and all the sword abilities and stuff like that.
I think this is the chapter with the most devil fruits.
Oh yeah,
yes.
And I'm here for it. Like, I love chapters like this, like where they just set up characters who are like going to play a role in the future. It's just so cool to me. Like, I loved when the Revolutionary Army heads showed up, like way back when, around the Reverie,
and then we never heard about them anymore.
Yep, but
they're there somewhere.
Same thing's probably gonna happen here, but I'm still loving it.
I mean the BSDM character, like the one that whips the
whip ability. At first, I was really confused about that, and it's taken a few content creators to kind of really help it make sense for me. But she's like whipping the building, which is controlled by the island guy, and apparently if she whips it, she can control that said thing. So just clearing it up for any viewers or listeners who
are
not
into this sort of stuff. Yes.
Don't talk about it too long.
I'm sure that many fans are probably have their
new favorite character. New favorite character instantly for a lot of people.
Luckily, I mean, it's gonna be like the One Punch Man Reddit for a few weeks.
Oh boy.
And it's also cool callback to a few chapters ago when we learn about Vegapunk's Nobel Award invention of the flower.
It's again like Oda using cover story stuff in the story almost immediately, and that's not something he's done in the past, and it's something I really, really enjoy. It's almost like very quick gratification in a series that normally takes longer.
I mean, we're really in that final saga. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine who's trying to get caught up in One Piece, and is like, in the early stuff. So he's like, I'm not sure how good this thing is. And I said to him, literally every chapter in the past couple months has been just complete hype. And that's crazy. Like, series don't do this in general, where it's just like every chapter is these big moments that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing happened. But like One Piece is built up so much over the years. And now that Oda's in the final saga, he can feel like he can just like, oh yeah, I can just pull the trigger on all these things. I can sort of have the payoff for these moments. And of course, since he's Oda, he's delivering that payoff and then setting up things that will have payoff later on at the same time. I mean, I don't think a single chapter since like the middle of Egghead has like missed. I think that every chapter has just been incredible.
And the last thing I wanted to say is the little touches. Like in a couple of panels, we get a glimpse of Kobe's character when he's going like, "Oh, are they here to rescue me?" And he's like embarrassed to say, "Oh, you don't have to think. You're not that important. Stop thinking about that." And then the girl that shows up to rescue him, I don't remember her name. She's the one who was crying when he was kidnapped, and clearly she's in love with him, but she don't want to say it. She's just like, "Oh,
don't think too much about this." But I pat you.
I was passing by, something like that. So this little character, almost like strokes with the paintbrush, just a little bit there, and you get the idea of who the character is. But enough tooting Oda's horn, guys.
I mean,
I might have to change the podcast to that name. That's tooting Oda's horn.
One last thing on the sort of minor, character things that happen. I love seeing, what's her name? The sword woman that it looks like Zoro's childhood friend.
Tashigi.
Tashigi and Helmeppo. I love seeing them show up for like one panel each at the end of that chapter too, because it's again just Oda's set up these characters and then he doesn't have to put too much into them. Like when they show up again, he can just add a little bit and fans will be happy. And,
I'm actually very anxious to see more Helmeppo. He's probably one of the most drastically, if you think about that guy's character journey, that guy has evolved the most, I would say, out of any character in the entire series. And that's kind of back when people were wondering which Blackbeard pirate's going to be fighting which Straw Hat. The Shiryu, the guy with the invisible fruit,
with Absalom's fruit.
I'm almost thinking he could show up at any point at any part of this entire story with his invisible fruit and kill somebody. But with Kobe and Helmeppo's observation hockey abilities and stuff, that might be a little bit more difficult to do. But we'll have to see if any of that happens, because the whole island may have just exploded. After Garp, and this is another screen rant I pitched and I'm going to be writing about, as the ship was flying into the middle of the island, I just couldn't help but think of Luffy arriving in Marineford pretty much the same way. And that's exactly how I think Garp was so impressed by that and so thought that was so cool that he's just let's do that too. So Garp being inspired by Luffy's entrance, just being thrown into the middle of the island and then decimating it with galaxy impact. Again, one of the coolest, most powerful hockey demonstrations we've seen in the whole series so far.
And not the name I would expect from Garp. It's way too serious for a Garp move.
Yeah. It also relates to the to space and the planets.
Yeah,
and stuff,
the whole thing. Yeah. I'm imagining all the content creators already going, "Oh, this is a proof that the planets and this and all and that."
Yeah,
it's their job. So
yeah, it's kind of funny because I wonder how much of it is there was an interview with Hideaki Anno, who did Eva, Evangelion, and they asked him what was the reasoning behind naming all these things like all these like biblical terms like Lilith and angels and all that stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I think they sound cool." And
which,
you know,
if I think of the amount of time that as a young boy I spent trying to crack the code of what the hell Evangelion means, reading about the Kabbalah and all that stuff on the internet, and then it was just, and then it's clear, like 20 years later, it's clear that it was just picking random names, and people went crazy over that. And
yeah, it's always surprising when you find out the answer is it's cool.
Yeah. And maybe that's what's going on here. I mean, I could definitely see Oda, like, there's so many
the talking island thing for sure.
Well, there's
maybe he's excited. Maybe he's excited about the Saint Seiya movie that's coming.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Oda's probably a big fan of Saint Seiya.
Galaxy Explosion is the name of the Gemini Seiya, the Gemini Saint attack.
Oh wow, that sounds like a big attack.
Galaxian, yeah. He, according to many, he's the strongest one. But me and my friends used to have these endless arguments because, of course, everyone would always say that your zodiac sign was the strongest saint, right?
Okay.
So we and sadly or luckily, I'm a Taurus, which is a saint that always gets disrespected. But yeah, whatever.
So Garp absolutely annihilated, possibly Kobe even in that explosion.
He's my protege. Only I can kill him.
Yeah, and if he doesn't survive this, he's not strong enough. I'm really hoping that we stick here on the next chapter. We're unfortunately on break next week, but who knows? With One Piece, we might jump back to Egghead and get an even better chapter. Who knows? That's. I think we covered about, that's probably about all we should talk about on this chapter. Was there any other thoughts about One Piece 1080 that you guys had that you'd like to share?
That's it for me.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and move into some plugs and recommendations today. I know there's a few new series too that I think Ben wanted to talk about. I was actually very interested in Tenmaku Cinema, which I kind of went to film school, have a background in being overly passionate about movies and anime and manga. And so that kind of spoke to me. It's about a young high school student who is obsessed with films, and some ghost starts possessing him, who used to be like a film a script writer. And he really wants this kid to be able to like write his last script down for him, and it kind of goes some interesting places, and I thought it was all right.
It was definitely interesting. A decent start. Excuse me. But it's funny because it sort of falls into a category of shonen manga that I've been seeing more and more often lately, which I like to call like performance manga, where it's, this is very similar to like Oshi no Ko, which isn't a Shonen Jump series, but it's getting an anime soon. And that's also about like show business and movies and TV and stuff. And we've got, of course, Akane-banashi, which is currently in Jump right now, which is focusing on Rakugo. And, it's very cool to seeing how these Shonen Jump series are like adapting the Shonen formula to like art. And it's very fun to see.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen kind of played around with that too, with like introducing different people with abilities that started to get a little bit meta to that point. Yeah. And it's been really interesting seeing new creative minds kind of play with these and craft new interesting stories in a way that we haven't seen before. But
yeah, well, it wasn't the longest time ago that one of the most popular series in Shonen Jump was this sort of performance manga. Of course,
which one?
Yeah, what was that?
Act Age, but its author was revealed to be a terrible person, so it got canceled.
Wait, what's the
Act
name?
Age? Act
How
Age.
Do you spell? How do you spell that?
Like in just the English words act and age. Just
so ACTAGE.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it was really big for like a while in Jump. Like it was constantly getting like the big splash pages and stuff, and it was a huge thing. But of course they canceled it after the authors did some terrible stuff. So
like Rurouni Kenshin author kind of
stuff?
stuff?
Like Rurouni Kenshin author sort
what
of.
Had to have been worse?
Yeah, no, like Rurouni Kenshin stuff.
Okay.
So it, it's not really talked about anymore for good reason because of that. Yeah. But these sort of manga they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of legs, and I'm glad to see more and more of them getting made.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, other than Tenmaku Cinema, was there any other of the new series that you definitely wanted to talk about this week?
Yeah,
I think we have to talk about what's gone. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is our last chance because this was its last chapter. But Ginka and GLÜNA wrapped up this week, and I don't often recommend series that have been canceled by Shonen Jump because oftentimes it's a bit disappointing, and they end on weird places. But Ginka and GLÜNA does as well. But
this last chapter was definitely
but it did so many good things like leading up to that, and I do think that this last chapter is as satisfying an end as it could have gotten in this short of time, and I think the series is really cool. So
can you what's like the elevator pitch? What's Ginka and GLÜNA about?
Well, the funny thing is that on the surface it sounds really basic. Like it doesn't sound like an interesting or innovative series, but it's basically like this girl and her magic snowman mentor just go out and travel the world and help people. But it had a lot of like early One Piece vibes to it in terms of the spirit of exploration, and it just it does so many cool and innovative things, I think, in the shonen formula, especially in its final sort of arc when it knew it was getting canceled. And it introduced an insanely strong villain and a very compelling villain, in my opinion, that I'm sad we didn't get to see more of.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Well, yeah, I think you had recommended it in previous episodes of Manga Mondays, and apparently Oda was a big fan of it too. So,
and to me, the art was also the selling point.
Oh,
because so many of these new shonen series, I think, have very underwhelming art, which is crazy to me, considering that's the top of the manga world. But this Ginka and GLÜNA, you could see that already had refined art. Like the level that a mangaka gets to after a few years that they are working on the same series. It had that from the beginning, and plus it was very solid, like that solid shonen storytelling with some more light-hearted moments. There was comedy, and there was action, and it was overall just maybe a classic series, but in all the positive meaning of the word.
Yeah. And I'm really sad that I think it's sort of like seemingly generic nature sort of really hurt it, because I think a lot of people read the first chapter or two and they're like, it's fine, but it's not anything special. And so they didn't follow through with it. And it's a real shame considering where it went and how good it got. But I'm definitely gonna I'm eagerly anticipating the manga's next project, because I'm sure that after the great showing that they had here, I'm sure they'll get another manga serialized eventually.
I'm actually hoping that it goes and break the mold and just serializes that on whatever online platform you can find. I don't know if you can, because maybe when you sign a contract with Shueisha, you probably sign away your soul, and you can never ever publish that same work somewhere else. But I hope that he continues that somewhere else, honestly, because we had enough of this stupid cancellation.
Yeah, and honestly, the series ends on a note where it could continue. It wraps up it's as satisfying as an end as it can be, which, you know, means it isn't like the most satisfying thing in the world. But it also is open-ended enough, like the major villain's still running around, like there's a clear sort of path for the characters to go down. Like I think it's it definitely could continue, and I hope it does. Like fingers crossed, it'll be a once in a lifetime thing for it to do that. But if any series can, I think it's that one.
Yeah, because I know Shonen Jump's been canceling a lot of series lately, and I almost wonder, like, do you think that they just? I mean, I don't know if you all know this, but don't know how they judge. I mean, is it just people clicking on it now, or because it's not the same, you know, thing anymore?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think one of the big things is people buying the tankobon releases. So basically, after like 10 chapters, so they'll be collected in new volumes. They'll get published, and based on how those volumes do, Shonen Jump will be like, okay, is this series worth investing more into, or is it kind of on shaky ground here? Like, do people like it or not? Will it make us money? And I don't think Ginka Gluna did the best in terms of those volumes. But
yeah, I would almost hope that they would adjust that, because I mean, I don't own. I think I bought One Piece Volume 100 just because it's, you know, it's kind of a monumental thing. But I don't own all the manga volumes. I've just read them on the social media or on the Shonen.
The thing
Jump
is,
app.
outside of Japan, you can't really, like, I mean, for America at least, it takes time for this stuff to get turned into volumes, and oftentimes Viz won't even translate series that they're like, oh, this got canceled, like there's no point for us translating the volumes, right?
And then you have series like JoJo that are worldwide popular, and they still don't translate them fast enough.
The fact that they're like only doing the official translation of like part 5 and 6 like now, like in America,
part 9 is
absurd.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. We were lucky in Italy because manga was very popular when JoJo go out, and JoJo is one of the first series to be translated in Italian. So it's still going today, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had that, but you know, we got to settle on fan translations for all the most recent parts. But it's not many ways to support it, but
I wish that we could just here's a PayPal for Oda. I'll just here's $20 a month, buddy.
Yeah, well, Oda doesn't need it, but some of these others do.
Oda should PayPal all of us.
Yeah. We're talking about his stuff, Oda. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you for your support and your love, guys. Go buy an ice cream.
No one else is talking about One Piece, just us. So like,
he could do it with everyone who's talking about One Piece.
Yeah, that's true. He's got enough money.
It'll still be fun.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
but
you guys are getting my hopes up.
Yeah. But the nice thing is that, well, maybe not the nice thing, but I think like there are some very good and less talked about Shonen Jump series that are past the point where it's like, this is still kind of in the danger zone. Like for instance, Akane-banashi, like that's a very niche topic, and I was worried in its infancy that it would sort of potentially get canceled, but it's on chapter 57 now. You know, it seems to be very popular, so I have high hopes for that series. I'm a bit more worried about some of the other newer series. Like I've been really loving Cipher Academy, which is on chapter 19. But it is overly complex, and I could definitely see it not being everyone's thing. So not sure if it will last past 30 chapters, but it's very, very fun. And it's
got some staying power, especially because there was that controversy about like people trying to translate it, and they're just like, we cannot translate this. Complex. And they kept it going. So there must be.
Well, the thing is that doesn't matter to the Japanese market, right?
Oh, really?
Like that got eyes on it, I think, in America. I mean, I actually wrote the Screen Rant article about how it had become impossible to translate, and the translator at the time actually shared that article when they announced, like, I'm leaving the title, which I don't blame them for, because it's just impossible. No translator could actually translate the chapter that I wrote that article about. It's just you can't do it. And I think that the previous translator did an incredible job on the series up to that point, and in that chapter as well. But it's too much to ask, and that can make it a bit hard to read as an English reader.
Yeah.
But I think the series is crazy enough. Like, if you like the convoluted, like JoJo's battles and Hunter x Hunter battles, and you like that sort of crazy, like off the wall convoluted stuff for like relatively mundane things, you're gonna love Cipher Academy. So definitely check it out if you're interested.
Absolutely.
It's wild.
Well, yeah, I think most of these we're naming off are all available on the Shonen Jump app or viz.com. But yeah, I know when we originally first started almost a year ago, I think we've been doing this podcast about a year, gentlemen. So congrats.
Yeah. Wow.
But I remember you recommending PPPPP, which got canceled
now. Yep.
And it's just like one of those series that I remember hearing good things about, but unfortunately it got canceled.
Yeah, and that got canceled around like chapter 60, I think. Like, that was a very unexpected cancellation. People were like, okay, it's past the danger zone. Yeah, chapter 70.
Wow.
But it wrapped up. It's funny because that series wrapped up on a note that was basically a middle finger to Jump, because it was like, yeah, we're not having a satisfying ending. We're just gonna, turn the main character kind of into their evil version and have them just like punch the main antagonist who serves as a stand-in for Shonen Jump here. So it was a very
ballsy ending, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, Francesco, is there any new series or a series that recently got canceled that you were a little bummed out to see them get canceled?
I've been reading a lot of new series recently, but no. I mean, oh gosh, I wish I could remember which ones.
Yeah, the only ones that got like, Ginka Gluna was tragic, but
not about the cancellation. I mean, I've been actually reading new series, but I can't remember the names because it's late in the day for me, guys.
Yeah.
No worries.
Have you been reading Fabricant 100?
Oh yes, but that basically that's one of the things I'm reading just because it's free. Like, I will never pay even 10 cents for that because I don't really like it. And by the way, new chapter of Dandadan is out, which is a great series that I suggest reading. Oh yeah, this Jinrui Shoku, Light of Man. It's an interesting new horror series which comes out at the same time as Dandadan. So it's an online series, like Shonen Jump Plus series.
Okay.
And I like that. So I suggest, it's interesting. It's just the fifth chapter, but it's cool. And and then my guilty pleasure is Me and My Gangster Neighbor, which is the sort of thing that Steve will read. And but I am actually enjoying it.
Does he actually read it? Because
I don't think so, because you know why? Because that's a good series. So obviously,
I was gonna say
it doesn't really. and another like sort of Steve-like series I've been reading is MARRIAGETOXIN, which is about the heir of a famous family of killers who wants to get married. So he starts, he recruits a marriage swindler to help him find a woman. And of course, he has to find her in these weird missions that he takes. And it's cool. It's the right mix of action and more, sort of romance, which is...
what was that one called again?
MARRIAGETOXIN.
MARRIAGETOXIN. Okay.
It's all one word.
Gotcha.
It's cool.
All right.
It's like, it's a nice little read.
No, it sounds interesting. I appreciate the recommendations, gentlemen. I think I'll be trying to put all of them in the description down below. So feel free to check out some of these series. I personally have been getting I'm a little late to it. I recommended it last podcast, but I've been really getting into Hajime no Ippo lately, the anime. It's done by Madhouse, and it was kind of the same same production company that did Hunter x Hunter, One Punch Man, Trigun, 90s Trigun.
And now they're doing the Demon Slayer too.
Oh, are they? No, I
No,
thought it was UFO Table.
Yeah, but I think it's UFO Table and Madhouse.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh,
well, maybe it's nonsense. Let me check.
Well, if so, that would make sense because Demon Slayer is
beautiful,
peak animation.
Yeah, me and the wife just watched that first episode of the new season last night, and it looked stunning. It was definitely a lot of great humor, and me and the wife are laughing out loud. So, of course, recommend the new Demon Slayer. But yeah, Hajime no Ippo, Trigun Stampede, I really enjoyed as well. But yeah, as far as manga goes, I think these guys are way more versed than I am with new mangas. So definitely check out some of those new series. But yeah, guys, I think we'll go ahead and be wrapping it up.
It's not. No, I said some nonsense, but there's something I've been watching that's from Madhouse recently.
Oh yeah, what's that?
I don't know. We will never know.
We'll never know. Well, yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking to you guys. I think we definitely got recommendations out of the way, so we'll go ahead and move into some plugs. But would really appreciate if you subscribed and leave us a comment on Mega Manga Mondays YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about other series next week. One Piece is unfortunately on break, but we'll see if we can get some guys in to talk about some new stuff too. But yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. I have another YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. Me and good buddies usually get together and play video games together and make each other laugh and stuff like that. Me and my best buddies are playing Metal Gear Solid 2.
Nice.
Yeah, love it. And we have a lot of fun and are usually our lungs hurt by the time we're done recording because we're usually laughing so hard on that one. So please subscribe to Honzy and Friends and check that out. I also am playing Sonic Frontiers with another guy from this podcast, Stephen Blackburn, who's a Screen Rant writer. And one of Screen Rant's Sonic the Hedgehog comics gurus, I like to call him. Yeah, he has revealed some very strange Sonic storylines on our playthrough. It's been fun.
So last week I've been subbing for an editor who was on break.
Oh, nice.
So I edited one of Steve's article on the Sonic comic book. And yes, this is pretty strange. And also, like, my first thought was, okay, this is just a comic book for furries. Yeah. and I told Steve, and he had absolutely no shame in admitting that. Like, zero shame.
So, no, it's actually one of the first intros to, I think it's episode 2 of our Sonic Frontiers playthrough on Honzy and Friends, is he's saying he would, if one of the characters
the thing about his wife. I was hesitating because I didn't want to say that on screen. But he told the same to me.
Yeah. He would apparently leave his real human wife if one of these characters became real, which is just quite the statement. And I had to start the episode with that. So check out Honzy and Friends and this one, and of course our works on Screen Rant. I'm a writer there as well. I cover video game stuff. Starting to do interviews. I actually should have an interview coming up today. I spoke to the actress of Harley Quinn and
Haley Cuoco or Lady
Tara Strong.
In a video game.
Video game, and she did the animated series, I believe.
She did she voiced the role in different things. Right.
So. But it's the new Rugrats series is coming out with a new season, so I got to talk to E.G. Daily and Tara Strong about it, and that should be up on Screen Rant today, I think. So lots of exciting stuff. Go ahead and just type in Jason Hahn Screen Rant, you'll find some stuff. But yeah, Ben, how about you, man? I'm sure you got some stuff to some plugs.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the start, I have a YouTube channel, YGO from Zero. So if you're interested in historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, check it out. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about you, Francesco? Anything you want to pimp out today?
No, just again, come and check the anime section of Screen Rant. We got all the content you are looking for. We got the news, we got the deep analysis. We got some very cool previews from our friends at Crunchyroll and other outlets that send us stuff for reviews, and so all sorts of cool stuff. So please come and check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Screen Rant's been putting a lot of resources into making the anime manga section as good as it can be, and I think we put out some pretty fun, entertaining stuff. So definitely check it out. But that'll wrap up this episode of Manga Mondays. As I said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we look forward to the next one. But thank you guys for your time and your thoughts, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you then.